This is a webinar all about modern kitchen management. And so we've got a short demo in store today for you, as well as some general insights from a couple of our Revel team members. And so if we could move on to the next slide, I'll go ahead and introduce who we've got speaking. So I'm your host today. My name is Sydney Kita, and I am the Senior Marketing Communications Manager for Revel Systems. And I have the honor of joining Nicole Panconi, who's one of our enterprise account managers, as well as Dan Barlow, who's an enterprise sales engineer here at Revel. So between the two of them, we've got a lot of great industry knowledge, and I am really excited to dive in. And we will save some time for Q&A at the end. So we've got a combination of some great questions that were submitted in advance of the webinar, and then you're also welcome to use the chat function to submit questions that you have along the way. Go ahead and move on to the next slide. So I won't spend too much time on this slide because probably many of the folks on this call have a really firm grasp on the state of the industry and some challenges that you're facing. But some general things that are happening, of course, lower profit margins are a concern. Higher labor costs are constantly a concern. And then lately, the labor shortage has been something that I feel like has been in so many headlines lately. And for any restaurant operators, you're probably feeling some of those challenges directly. And then on top of all of that, there are more channels than ever in terms of how people can actually place an order. So kitchens are juggling orders from kiosks and online ordering and delivery and mobile order takers, traditional wait staff, and then drive-through. Who knows what's next? Perhaps drones, perhaps artificial intelligence. There's just a lot of options going on. And so more than ever, it's important to have a connected kitchen, which is essentially a kitchen that's able to handle that digital first customer, and one that can also hopefully help overcome some of the challenges of labor shortages, service speed, which has been around for ages, and then that very critical opportunity to reduce order errors and potential order waste. So to keep things moving along, I'm going to actually introduce Nicole, who will share a little bit about her personal experience of living the restaurant operator life. So we can move on to the next slide.
Well, thanks, Sydney. I appreciate this. Yeah, Sydney said I have quite a bit of restaurant experience, but running a restaurant, whether it be full service or quick service, is difficult. Your time's being pulled to the front of the house. It's to the kitchen, it's to labor, it's to customer service. Now it's to delivery drivers and online orders. They're all there coming in at the same time. What I've noticed that Revel's KDS offers a way to save that time, helps your team become more efficient, which at the end of the day, it's going to improve that food quality and accuracy of the orders, which I'm sure are top KVDs for a lot of your locations. As a manager, I always was told, the food's not going to cook any faster if you stare at the line cooks, but you figure that does help. But by running the kitchen, you can now walk in, look in one location. What the KDS is going to offer you is that you're going to be able to see, the times on the tickets. You're going to know when items are completed and which stations are maybe being behind in production, that you're able to walk over and help them if you have to. Bins have been added a lot to the KDS screens. So immediately I used to be able to look over and say, okay, fry is getting crushed or grill is getting crushed. Who else is in the weeds? Just by the sheer volume of the items that come into the order. Also very visual with the colors. So we can say, okay, certain certain orders are delivery. Other ones maybe are just the online. This is in-house, this is to go. So now I know, hey, I'm going to be being killed with delivery orders. And so do we have everything ready to go for them? Are all to-go supplies all ready to go? Am I expecting this onslaught of drivers to come in and start asking for orders? So with one location, one consolidated view, one area to look at, I can be able to look at my dining room, be able to look in my kitchen, watch Expo, and be able to manage my time and put out the fires where they need to be put out. We all know, like Sydney was saying, is that labor shortage. So you can help with that labor shortage by using the order ready screens. It's fantastic, goes up, lets them your guests know where their order is in queue. And it's not just the guest, it is those drivers that come in. It's going to be able to put them off for a couple minutes to say, okay, hey, that's my order. I know it's not ready or it's being worked on. At least I know the kitchen has it and it's getting ready for us. So that will allow a little bit more streamline instead of just going back and trying to say, where is this? Let's hurry up. Everything is going to be in a more methodical, in a streamlined manner for the kitchen and your front of the house. So with that said, you're able to deal with a specific issue at that time because everything else is going around behind you. Now, after everything's said and done, you still are going to be able to use the KDS in a completely analytical way. One of my biggest accomplishments, I can say, was actually through our speed of service report. It was completely invaluable to the restaurant I was working with. There was a product, it was a good seller, but not fantastic. But leadership still wasn't ready to get rid of it. But I was able to say, okay, look at our speed of service reports. Look at the amount of time when this item is on this check, how much longer it takes to get it ready. How much longer does it push the kitchen back to somebody that might be getting one or two items? So it was a very analytical way to show, hey, this is what's happening with your kitchen, with your flow. So when this item is ordered, we know that your kitchen times and your ticket times are 2 or 3 minutes longer than they need to be. It also allows to say, that customer said, hey, my order took too long, or this happened to this order. I was able to easily pull up the check, look at the times, see what item went, was the problem, or did we completely skip over it? It was a very easy way to break down without trying to look through camera systems and look through checks or go talk to the server or the cashier to find out what happened. So all that was easily and readily available. It allowed me to be able to look at the front of the house exactly as one instead of trying to separate the two. And those are kind of like the simple items that I dealt with when, I was working in this. So that you can see where that value is brought to is that it will not alone help you with your value, but be able to even help your team look at their screens, be able to feel more confident on what they're making or what they're waiting for or where that delay is so they can better run and streamline that kitchen. So hopefully that helps out. I guess you can go to the next slide for that.
All right. Yeah, so, as Nicole was saying, there's definitely those perks, the enhanced customer communication. We can actually send text messages to the customer when their order is ready using things like our pickup for online ordering and pickup, or even call ahead pickup. You can actually send a notification when that order is completed to then notify by text message the customer that their order is ready. And then they can even let the restaurant know that they've arrived. So, for the folks that might sit in their car on the phone because they were given a quote time, they don't need to be sitting on the car talking to someone that they're really extending that conversation they don't need to have because they're waiting for their food and their food's waiting for them and it's getting cold and it's a lose-lose situation there. So I think Nicole talked plenty about those incremental time savings, managing orders, and of course, accessing that intelligent reporting and her scenario there of eliminating some items. So we'll go through here and we'll go ahead and we'll go ahead and I'll share off, what the kitchen display looks like. So give me just a moment to swap screens. All right, so on my screen here, I have both the Revel kitchen display system and the ordering system here as well for the point of sale. So when we add an order to the point of sale, pretty standard practice. We'll just add this burger, add it, we can hit send, and it's automatically going to hit that kitchen display. I'll now expand the kitchen display so everyone can see that a little bit more clearly. And now you can see on here, here's the items that we have. We've got all these tickets here that'll automatically show up, and then on the left-hand side, and then we've got a consolidated view of what's going on within the kitchen on the right-hand side. As Nicole was saying, when we're getting busy in a kitchen, staring at these, line cooks isn't going to make them faster, but you can actually decide, hey, do I need to step in? Is there a lot of red tickets? Are there yellow tickets, green tickets? What is the status of what's going on in the kitchen? You can very clearly see across the restaurant or across the kitchen how things are going by the color coding that's available to you. So we've got, as you can see on here, this ticket's been on here for 2 hours. That's absolutely unreasonable. So we need to go in and figure that out, where 15 minutes, this is getting in that caution zone, and green, that's what we expect it to be. So once again, with that color coding, we can actually color code by the different order types, so that if I need to be putting it in the packaging right away, I don't have to go and check somewhere else or look for a specific line item. It's just going to be immediately clear to me. So you can see on here, I've got that to-go order. It's got this purplish blue color code on here. You can see the time on that ticket, who the server is. We can also have the customer information if it's customer. We can also have whether or not it's paid. So if you often are finding you've got food walking out the door because it goes through the kitchen and someone's going to pick it up, and your employees assumed it's paid for, here's another flag to catch that before that becomes a problem. So you can see we can add that kind of information on here. We can also add the due date. And when we're setting things up on the kitchen display, or when you're configuring it on the fly, because this is one of those products that, yes, you set it up from the management console, but you can very quickly go through and make changes to it. You can choose, am I going to be sorting by the order type? Am I going to be sorting by the due date or the total ticket time? And that's up to you. When we are using the kitchen displays, we use, the standard kind of order routing that you typically see in a kitchen. You can send the fried items to the fry cook. You can send the burgers to the grill station, and it's going to choose what products are going to go where, or you can choose to send to multiple stations and then filter it out by order type. We've got some customers that are using 3 make lines in some of their stores. And with 3 make lines, they're not keeping those running all the time. So what they can do is they can actually filter in and out the order types that make line is making that day. So maybe the one line's always dedicated to drive-through, great, they can leave that on, but sometimes the online orders and in-store orders are going to be made on different lines. And so they can actually very quickly scale their restaurant operations, choose how many fryers, how many staff they need to have, and have all the orders going in one spot, as opposed to having to run back and forth to grab tickets or to try to consolidate that information. It can all be configured here on the fly for what orders are visible. There's quite a few options that we actually have on here when we're going through filtering. Once again, I was saying we can order it by the due date and time, by the order type, and we can sort oldest on top, newest on top. And we can also group orders so that we can see orders or tickets or items. So if we want to consolidate those any way that's going to make it easier for me to see, that's certainly something that we can do. So once again, we've got that consolidated view here on the right side. Now this is great when you're a fry cook and you just need to know how many fries need to be in a fryer, and that's all you care about right then and there. You can see on here, I could go through and I could try to count through each ticket and parse that information out in my head, but it's just giving me that count right here on the right hand side. So I need 2 thick fries, 1 sweet potato fries. That's all I have to worry about. In situations where we've got burgers, maybe it's a double cheeseburger and a normal burger and then a cheeseburger, we can actually have it just tag those items as opposed to putting those item names. So it could say 4 patties. So I don't have to break out, okay, I've got this burger, I've got all these patties, how many patties are in each. I just see that quick count, 4 patties, great. I've got that on the grill and I can worry about the next item. If I'm a new employee and I forget exactly what comes on that XXL burger, maybe it's something someone doesn't order that often, or it's a limited time offering product. I can actually hit the information on here, and then we could actually have a recipe and a product image tied to it. So I know this classic burger, well, you'll see on here, it'll say the Impossible Patty, and then we'll have any of the recipe information on there. And you could actually write a short story in there. So you can actually give very clear and specific directions to your employees so that there's no doubt when they go through and manage that. I worked in a barbecue restaurant, and 90% of the things that we were making were just scoop it up onto a plate, put it into a bowl, and it went very quickly. And those 10% of items that some people were really tied to and may or may not have been on the menu still, people were very emotional if we couldn't fulfill that. So, and when we did it, we often got it wrong because we were trying to go from memory. So it's pretty great to have that information at your fingertips. And with this, when I say at your fingertips, yes, we can run the kitchen display on an iPad, but that's typically smaller than what we would want in a normal kitchen. So we would typically use a larger 24-inch ViewSonic screen. It can be a touch screen, or we can use a bump bar or a combination thereof. So in a fry station, I really don't want to be taking my greasy hands and rubbing it all over the screen that I'm about to read. So I prefer to use a bump bar, but maybe if your expo station, if your line cooks are pretty good about putting things onto plates and everything cleanly, maybe it is easiest for your staff to use that touchscreen interface because it's familiar and easy to use, and it doesn't require all that muscle memory training to navigate around. That's kind of a highlight of what we've got so far with the kitchen display. I just want to show some of the other options off because it is so heavily configurable. Lots of our customers are going to use it in different ways. So for me, this tile kitchen view that we're looking at here, this looks like a check. This looks like something I'm used to. Even better than a check where you actually have to pull it off. You take a couple seconds to straighten it out, a couple seconds to put it in a rack, a couple seconds to scoot it all over. It's all pulling up and being presented right in front of you so that you can make quick decisions and act on it, as opposed to messing around with the paper. So I can indicate, yeah, I've got this in progress. And if we've got multiple people working on the same items, we can actually tag it with different colors so we know who's working on it. And the expo will also know who's working on it. So, this tile kitchen view, that makes sense to me. It looks like a check. Other people want other views, so that's okay. So we'll use the kitchen view, and you can see here's a different way it's going to be presented. All the same functionalities ultimately here, right? You're seeing the to-go, you're seeing the items, you're seeing if it's paid or unpaid, whether or not it's in progress. So pretty easy to go through, to make the changes and to figure it out. So there's no large lift to installing this into your kitchen and figuring it out, because if you need to change something on the fly, you can, and then you can make any of those changes and figure it out. It's not too difficult to get up and running. So some of the options we've got are, do I want to share the seat number, what course it is, if there's special requests? Probably I want special requests, especially if there's allergen information tied to those, right? That could be a health and safety thing. How do I want my combos to display? Do I want to display it as a combo? Or do I really just want each individual station to worry about what they're working on and then let my expo handle that? At what time do our timers go green, yellow, red? And this is great that you can configure this on the fly, because on a Sunday night, I might have a totally different expectation of my kitchen staff than on a Friday or a Saturday night when they're slammed or by their staff. So if you're showing the customers yellow and red, or the employees yellow and red all night, they're going to feel a little bit more stressed because they're going to feel behind, even though that might be normal for that day. I'm kind of more along the developer type, so I like a black theme color, but we can also do white. So whatever lighting situations you have in your kitchen, we can make sure that it's got good contrast or very easily readable for your employees. We can check, do we have in progress mode? Is it that production view on or off? And if I do off, you'll see now I've got more screen real estate. With the 24-inch ViewSonic, we're automatically going to have more screen real estate. So that's wonderful on here, but whatever works best for you, it's pretty easy to configure. So Don't need to go through every setting, but some of the big things are, yes, it's going to make a sound. People are used to having a sound, and it's not going to make an awful printer noise when it's coming out. So that's a different Pavlovian response. But the good thing is it makes a cha-ching, you're making money sound. It's very easy to hear over the roar of fans for a fryer, exhaust, or any of that. It's a clear, audible sound, and that you can control the volume on, so it's not too jarring, so that you can very easily know orders have come in.
Dan, I know a lot of people still like the paper in the kitchen
Yep.
or maybe Expo, but I believe when you bump, you can have it print somewhere, but just in case people like to have that little bit of security that way.
Absolutely. And I'm seeing lots of different flows that we're having. So in pizza, maybe you want to have a make station where you're going to have the KDS, but at that cut station, you already want that printed out so that they have that there and they don't have to interact with the KDS. They're already a little bit stressed. That's always the tough spot in a pizza restaurant, is that cut station. So whatever works best for you, you can do a combination of KDS and printer or KDS. And then once again, when you're saying with the Expo, we can also choose to Expo print individual items. If you're selling burritos and people do a group order for 6 burritos, it's pretty hard to tell what's in a burrito until you take a bite into it. So slapping a label on that is going to make it very clear which item is what. And so you can choose, once it's bumped, it's going to print off a label, or once it's bumped, it's going to print off a receipt that you're going to staple to the bag, or a sticky receipt. So not necessarily a label, something kind of a little bit in between that still can be moved if you put it on the wrong box or the wrong bag, and a lot easier to deal with than peeling off the back of a label. Yeah, I think that should cover it for now for the general product run through. I'll go back to the deck, and I know we've got a couple other things to show off here, and then we'll get into that Q&A. As Nicole was saying, we've got those order ready screens as well. And the great thing about these is they are tied to the kitchen display. So you can see on here, when we're getting that feedback from using a kitchen display, we can now use that to update the customer. So that's, once again, sending the text message through Twilio to the customer's phone, or using that order ready board where you can actually have a preparing and a ready section on your screen. And this is using an Android TV, which is a pretty reasonably inexpensive piece of hardware. You can get a 70-inch one if you want it really big, or if you've got a small little to-go area, you can probably get a 24-inch one, whatever's going to work best. And once again, it's going to be color-coded for the order type, and you'll see a DoorDash order number this, or customer this, and then see that status. And once again, with DoorDash drivers, you're going to hold them off a couple moments before they're harassing your staff trying to figure out where that order is. And it's just a great, feedback to the customer. So yes, maybe you've quoted a time and you're exceeding it, but they know you've got that order. I go to a burrito place near me and they quote me a time and it's always wrong. And I watch them make everyone else's burritos. And I'm not sure if they got the order. I'm not sure if I ordered it to the wrong store, or if they're just delayed and the staff's too busy to really interact with it, especially as they're short-staffed, and I'm not going to try to harass people. So I end up sitting there for too long, and then often find out, yeah, they don't have my order. So great.
All righty, and the Q&A was an active box throughout the demo. So hopefully that means that everyone loved the demo, Dan. But let's go ahead and address some of those. So one of the first questions that came through was, do you have an updated list view of the KDS?
An updated list view. I'm not sure entirely what they're looking for, but that might be where they're looking for this kitchen view, where it's going to give a list of the items, or it could be that list on the right-hand side where it's going to show the items that need to be prepped on there in that production view. We can also choose when these are going to be hitting the kitchen display, so it could hit automatically once that item's been added to the order, or it could be hit as the order is sent to the kitchen.
No, I thought I also saw when you're in that list view, you don't get the option with the bins. That's only on the production, correct?
Correct. Yep.
Then we got another question. Can you customize what items are visible on the total right column?
Yeah, absolutely. So you don't have to have all the items there. So if you're using those tags, you could just choose what are those hot items that you need to worry about. So fries, burger patties, those types of things. Sometimes it's broken down by the modifiers and not so much the individual product. So you can choose what information's there. I know many customers I've worked with, they've got 8 items that they track, and everything else kind of falls in the line. But those are the 8 items that are the core items, that are the components that make the rest of the menu. Absolutely.
We got another one that says we prefer to use call names rather than order numbers. So can the display do that as well?
Absolutely.
And then for someone who might have joined a little bit later or might have missed this, they just want to confirm that this is available for both dine-in orders or whether it's specific to to-go and delivery.
Yeah, and so it's going to be available for all order types and even third-party orders when they come in from online. If they're injected through the API, they're going to come in and they're going to have their respective color code for that order type, even custom order types that you want to build out your own. So all orders can be on there. And once again, if you only care about certain orders at a certain station, you can filter those out.
We got a question about production view tags and whether you can use those in conjunction with list view. Is that one we got to?
Yeah, so that it's only on this check view. It is not on that list view.
Okay.
We do have a different view that's similar. It's more of an all-day view where it's going to give you a count, but this is not going to pull up by the tags. It'll pull up by those items. So. And you can toggle back and forth between that view.
Dan, we got a question about the order ready board. So this person asked whether there are customization options for the order ready board. And that's for both the functionality of the board as well as maybe some marketing messages. Can you dive into that a little more?
Yeah, so as far as marketing messages, there's no marketing messages on there as far as verbiage goes, but you can have your own background image, you can have your logos, you can have your color coding, so you can keep it, to your marketing theme. You can also configure what order types are going to be showing on that. So you probably don't want, in a typical restaurant, the in-store orders on there. It's typically for that pickup. Unless, that fits your restaurant, and you can configure it to do that as well.
All right. And then we got another question about adjusting the lag time when tapping buttons on the KDS on the iPad. Is that something that we can do?
No, so once you tap the button, it's going to, automatically, change and reflect. If you've got a concern that you're going to hit a button and things are going to go missing, we always do have the recall button, so you can recall any items that you may have inadvertently bumped.
Gotcha. And unfortunately, we've got tons of great questions, but we are at time. So Dan and Nicole, thank you both so much for sharing your time and expertise on the call today. For everyone who has joined, or for those who catch this as a recording, we will be following up with an email that contains the recording. And if you've got some specific questions that you'd like for us to follow up with you on, please just reply to the email with the recording enclosed, and we'll make sure that we can route those questions accordingly. So to everyone who joined, we really appreciate your time. We hope that this helps you to make a smoother flowing kitchen and a fully connected kitchen, and hope that you enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.